Hi, everybody. Uh-oh, you have sound on? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Do You Believe on livesci-fi.tv. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We have an awesome show. And I'm so excited. We're going to do a show on real haunted dolls. And we have a really great guest with us. We have Angie. Whoops, hold on. We have Angie, who is the owner of haunteddollsforsale.com. Hi, Angie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Noreen.
I'm so happy to have you. We're so excited. I've never done a show on haunted dolls before, and I've always wanted to know about them. So, why don't we, first of all, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm AJ. A lot of people know me as AJ instead of Angie. Um, I have and I have been a collector and a lover of the paranormal world, even way back as far as I could remember. And the haunted dolls and spirit dolls have always been a soft spot with me.
Oh, are you a paranormal investigator as well?
Yes,
And are you a sensitive or a psychic as well?
sensitive. Yes.
Oh, you are. Okay, so I noticed on your website some your dolls you refer to them as spirit dolls and spirit children. Why, and why is that?
Um, a lot of people don't like the word ghosts because that's so unfeeling, doesn't have any feelings to it. And I prefer to call them spirit children because a lot of them do have the human souls. And the spirit just sounds much more inviting, like if you're going to invite it into your home. The spirit is so much easier to get used to being around instead of just a ghost. A ghost is like, I don't know, it's like just a bland word for it.
Now, how can a doll have a soul?
Well, a lot of times when people die, and this could mean children all the way up to any age, a lot of times their death is sudden, and they don't really know what to do. And so they're just like anybody else. They look around to see what looks familiar to them. And sometimes if they see like a sensitive person like myself, I like put off a bright light and they can come and see that. Like if it's dark and all I see is this bright light, that's what I'm emitting off to them and they come towards me.
Hmm.
And I always have lots of dolls around and they go towards something that's more human like, more familiar to them. So that's why they would choose a doll to inhabit.
Oh, okay. So how do dolls get haunted? You want to go further into that? I guess you just did that
Well, they,
explanation.
they would, come across like a child spirit, for instance. They they passed on and they don't know what to do and they're scared and so they're going to go looking around for anything that's familiar to them to make them feel better. And if they come across a doll, they're going to want to play with it and be around it, and then they just inhabit it. They just spend so much time around it that they could go through anything, since they don't have the physical body anymore. So they're going to go and try to replace that physical body, and they can do that with the doll.
Really? So now could it also be an adult that would inhabit a doll or haunt a doll?
Oh, sure, yes. I have plenty of adult spirits, yes.
Oh. So how do you
But to
know?
them, it's more like,
But how do you, okay, so how do you know when a doll is haunted?
well, being as sensitive like I am, I can just tell and sense. And a lot of times you could pick one up, and it'll you just have this all knowing. Sometimes they'll put up static electricity, or you'll just get the feeling, and sometimes you'll get a little tickle in the back of your neck, or your hand will tingle a little bit. You could just tell, and if the spirit is strong enough, you'll be able to feel that energy around the host.
So if somebody doesn't have that sensitivity like you have, could they have this doll that is inhabited by a ghost and they would never know it then? Unless
Correct.
okay, does the doll really want to try and communicate with them?
Not the doll per se, but the spirit.
Uh-huh.
They're just using the doll as like a shell. You know, like we have our human bodies, we have our physical bodies. That's what we use every day. Well, they're since they no longer have the physical body, they are using the doll. So the spirit would actually try to communicate, not the doll, but they would try to get your attention by flickering the lights or trying to talk to you. But remember, in the spirit world, their realm is a lot different than ours. They have to gather up energy to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
They have to build up energy, and they have to collect energy from somewhere. So they could collect energy from your batteries or from your electrical outlets or even another person.
Can a doll get possessed by a demon or a demonic entity or spirit?
Yes, it can. It's not very common, but yes, it can. You know, like Annabelle, the haunted doll, and
Uh-huh.
then there's Robert, the famous haunted doll. Both of those believed to be negative energies.
I see. So when a spirit comes into a doll, um, and now suppose this doll is in a household that is unstable. The owner that has this doll is very sad. They're abused. They're scared. There's like yelling and all this commotion going on in their household. And this doll, this spirit went into this doll. Does that affect the doll?
Um, it could affect the spirit, yes, because they are human, and all they can do on the other side is emotions. They feel a lot of emotions, and so they can trigger a memory of their past life or when they were alive, and it could upset them. And usually, if that would happen, they'd either try to gain a bunch of energy to communicate and tell them to stop the arguments or the fighting or the chaos that's going on, or they would actually try to leave the doll and go find another host or try to cross over.
Oh. Now, do dolls haunt only certain people?
Well, the dolls don't actually haunt; it's the
It's the
spirits.
spirit. Right.
I'm not sure. And well, they like to be around people that are sensitive and that can show them attention, and they'll be drawn to you. Just like if you're sensitive, you'll be drawn to them, and you may not know it at the time. Why am I always thinking about this one doll, or why do I keep going back to this one page? It's because they're calling out to you in your subconscious, and you don't realize that's what they're doing.
Really? So, okay, so what happens when a haunted doll is left behind and the owner of the doll moves on?
I mean, it's just like if you left a child behind, they get very scared, very frightened, very emotionally upset, and eventually they'll go start looking for another vessel, somewhere that they can receive the attention and the care that they crave.
So then, if this doll is put, if the doll is abandoned and it's put into a dark storage area, that spirit will just leave that doll and look for someone else. Then,
Eventually, yes.
okay,
But they also have to have enough energy to get up and move and to leave. And
really? Okay.
none of my spirits are bound. There's a lot of dolls that are bound to a lot of spirits that are bound to certain dolls, but I don't have any of those. Those are more delving into the darker magics.
Well, then, if this haunted doll is put into a dark place into storage, and that spirit can't get out or away from the doll, is that spirit stuck in there forever in that
No,
doll?
no, not that I'm aware of. Now, it just depends on how much energy they have and how they can communicate and what they're able to do in the spirit world and in different realms.
Is there any special care to be taken with these dolls? If somebody knows that the doll is haunted, if they have sensitivity to the doll and they think that it is haunted, is there any kind of care that needs to be taken for these haunted dolls?
Well, besides the normal care for the doll itself, washing it down and clean, having clean clothes put on the doll. For the spirit, you can just talk to it like it's like, I mean, I'm talking to you. Like, just say, hello, good morning, how are you? Or, and how are you doing today? And, just just talk to them normal because they are human. They just don't have their physical body.
So if somebody has a doll laying around the house, it could be the grandmother's doll. I've also heard people say that they have an old antique doll and they get really weird vibes from the doll. Does that mean there's possibly a spirit inside of that doll?
It's possible, it's very possible that it is inhabited by a spirit, but usually their feeling is their grandmother's energy, because you can't restore energy. It
Right.
has to go somewhere and it may be absorbed into the doll. And what they're picking up on, and they may not realize that they're sensitive, is the grandmother's energy that she had. Like you can walk into an old building and you could just feel the energy around you from days gone past, days gone by.
Okay.
That would be the same with the doll.
All right. So let's talk about some of your haunted dolls. How about we start with Blanche?
Okay, she is, and she's picked a beautiful host. When you see her, she's very tall.
Yes.
She's made in Paris, France. Her host is, and she's absolutely a delightful spirit. I have really enjoyed having her.
Okay. So you call her a haunted doll. What does she do?
Well, she communicates telepathically, and she's talked through the ghost box with me, and she has used dream communication, which she'll communicate while I'm asleep, while we're dreaming, and she'll come, and communicate that way.
Hmm. How do you know it's her?
I see her picture. I mean, I see her face, and I recognize her voice. And being the sensitive that I am, I could just tell that it's her.
So how did you? So you said this doll was from Paris, France.
Yeah, that's where she was made.
Mm-hmm. And so, okay. So you have the doll. It came into your home, and then somebody went into the doll and is haunting the doll. Some spirit.
Actually, she was already spirited when I purchased her at an estate sale. I was drawn to her, and I don't ever question if I'm drawn to something. I go over to it because there's a reason I'm getting pulled that way. And there she was, and I knew right away that she was spirited. I didn't know her name right off, but I did know that she was spirited.
Hmm. And she's up for sale.
Yes, yes, she's on my website.
And do these dolls mind going to another home? Do they mind leaving you?
Some of them do. They don't want to leave, but then, I get to know the person that's actually adopting them. I get to know a little more about them, and then I reassure them everything's going to be okay. And they also know that they don't have to stay within the doll. If something they don't like and they really want to leave, they're their own free will. They can leave.
Hmm.
They
Okay.
are not bound in any way to the doll.
Okay. How about Adeline? Adeline, is it Adeline or Adeline?
Adeline.
Okay, so why don't we do Adeline next?
Okay, she's also out of my personal collection. Honey, let me give him to Blanche, or give Blanche to him real quick. I'll have to go get her just a hang on just
Okay.
a second.
Very interesting about haunted dolls. I had no idea that's how it worked, that a spirit goes into the doll. I just assumed that the doll was haunted, and I didn't think about that. And that would make sense that a spirit would go into a doll.
Yes, a lot of people have the misconception of the dolls that they're evil, and they're not evil at all. They're just human spirits, and they have the same emotions that we have.
Oh, you need to speak into your microphone.
Um,
Okay.
they have the same emotions that we do because they are a human spirit. And here's Miss Adeline. Can you see her?
Yes. And so, how did you know she was haunted?
Being the sensitive that I am, I just, spend a lot of time around her. And of course, I love the Pollyanna hosts. And I went around and just spent a lot of time with her, and the feeling that I got, and she did a lot of static electricity with me, and it's just really hard to explain if you're not as sensitive yourself. But I knew right away that she was, just because the feeling that I got, and then she started talking with me telepathically, and then I did some testing on her with the ghost box,
Uh huh.
and she talked right through the ghost box. And the pendulum, I use a lot of testing with the pendulums.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Did you do any EVP sessions with her with your digital voice recorder?
Yes, I did, and she did say that she was, um, her name was Adeline, and then she spelled it for me. Um, but they were like really, really hard to understand. So she's not like, I would say, a class A with the EVPs. But, then again, they have to have a certain amount of energy to come through that clear. And I don't know exactly how it is over there with them, but I do know that they have to collect the energy in order to make communication with us.
So the spirits that are in these dolls, then they're all spirits that have passed on. Did they tell you how they passed on?
Yes, some of them do, and that's a lot. Like when they communicate with me, um, they'll like, for instance, if they want to tell me where they lived and grew up, instead of coming out and saying, "Okay, well, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts," they'll show me like red socks, and then all of a sudden I'll have to put that. They'll show me pictures, flash pictures, and I'll have to put the. It's like the pieces to the puzzle. I have to put those pieces together, and it'll be like, "Oh, Boston Red Sox. They're from Boston, Massachusetts."
Mm-hmm. So did she tell you how she died? The spirit that's in this doll?
No, she did not. I had to actually keep asking her questions and questions and questions, and finally, then she did.
Okay, so how did she die?
Um, let's see. She is 22 years old, and she died from the fire. Her neighbors upstairs were cooking,
Mm-hmm.
and she was asleep and then woke up from the alarms going off, and she got trapped and couldn't get out of the apartment complex. And she showed this all to me in dream communication. It
Interesting.
was kind of like a short play, like a short film going over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to, piece it together and actually see it was her, because they don't look like ghosts all the time. But she does resemble, she has green eyes and the blonde hair. And she showed me in dream communications what she looked like.
Oh. Now, do they, when the spirit goes into the doll, do they want the doll to resemble them, how they were in real life?
Sometimes they do look for the same color hair they may have, or same color eyes, or it just depends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never really asked that kind of question.
Mm-hmm. And she's
Yeah.
willing. She's willing to get sold and move on as well.
Yeah, well, I don't like to say sold. I like to say adopted out.
Adopted, okay.
That's okay.
So, can you communicate with her right now that she's sitting with you?
Yes.
You
Yeah, and
can?
I just talk to her normally, like I'm talking to you. She can hear me. Now, whether I don't know whether she'll have enough energy to communicate with us.
Oh. Now, the EMF detector, do you ever put the EMF detector up to them to see if they're putting off any energy?
Yes, I do. And actually, my EMF detector, I need to get a new one because it broke like 3 days ago, and I was so upset. So I have another one ordered. It's coming, and so I don't have that with me today. But
Okay.
yes, she has really spiked it. And I do a lot of testing with all my babies before I post them or list them.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go on to Kendra. I love the face on Kendra. Can we move on to Kendra now? Thank
Sure,
you. Thank you,
just
Adeline. Is that Adeline? Thank you. Okay, Kendra will be next.
I don't know where Kendra went. I can't find her right away.
Oh no. Can you can you at least talk? Okay, then just talk about her.
Okay, let me get my notes on her real quick. I don't
Okay.
want to. Oh yes, yes. She was the one that was isolated from her husband. I mean, from her family and friends. Her husband was extremely mean, and once they got married, he got rid of all of her friends, all of her family, took her way off to where she couldn't communicate with hardly any of them, and she'd be tired when she went to the grocery store and came back, and he did a lot of heavy drinking, from what
Oh,
I understand,
how did she
and
die?
he just abused her almost daily. And one day he ended up just choking her.
Oh my God. Hmm. Wow. Okay, so do you have Charlie with you?
I do have
Okay,
Charlie. He
let's.
is one of my very most favorites. And not only do I love, 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 love his little spirit, but I love his host too.
Oh.
He's from the 1920s, and
Mhm.
he's a big host, and he is by far my favorite. Well, one of them. I can't say he is my favorite, but he
And
is one of my favorites.
so
And he's just
what is his story? What's Charlie's story?
Charlie was working out on the farm or following his grandfather around on the farm, and his grandpa did not realize that he was like right behind him, and he ran over him with the tractor, and he got crushed.
And again, this information came to you in a dream or telepathic, or how did?
Um, through a lot of the stuff came through dreams, dream communication, and then he confirmed it through the ghost box. And him being so young, he's only 4. He'd have other spirits answer for him,
Oh.
because he didn't understand a lot of the questions that I would ask. So if you're going to ask a child spirit, you have to get down on their level, just like if you were asking a live child a question. You'd have to put it in their terms where they would understand.
Now, since he's so young, does he want you to hold him and cuddle him and talk to him?
Oh yes, yes. I hold him every day, and if I'm watching TV, I'll have him there with me, and then I'll put on cartoons if I'm doing housework, or cooking dinner. I'll have him watch me cook dinner, um, and there's a lot of other spirits that I have that like to take care of the younger spirits as well.
The other haunted
Uh huh.
dog. Okay. Okay. All right. Bye, Charlie. Okay. Let's move on to Tommy now. Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute, Francine. Let's do Francine. Is she available?
She is. Just a
Oh,
moment.
okay.
Here is my little Francine.
Oh.
She's 8 years old, and she actually doesn't know how she passed away, but I think it has something to do with her chest, her breathing, her chest area. Because when I first got her and I held her, I felt the tightness in my chest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I like needed to catch my breath. And because being a sensitive, I pick up on their feelings too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how old was she?
She's 8.
8. 8. And she also talks to you or communicates with you on a daily basis. And
Not daily. Sometimes they
oh,
don't have enough energy to communicate.
oh, really? Now, suppose there's a doll in your home, and they're not communicating with you anymore. Is there a possibility that a spirit could have left that doll and moved on?
Oh yes, there's a very very good possibility. And I usually, if I don't hear from them for a while, I either know that they're busy doing other things, or I usually ask the other spirits, do you still see her around? And usually I'll feel them. If they're gone, I can feel that they've crossed over.
All right. Um, so then say this doll, Francine. You don't hear from her. You think she has passed on to another doll, or then you no longer would sell that doll as a haunted doll.
Correct.
Okay. So what do you do with it?
Well, I would have to keep her, and if there was a spirit that communicated to me that did not have a vessel or a host, I would invite them to first cross over. Ask them, I always try to cross them over first, and if they're not ready, I do not push. I always tell them that there's other spirits out there waiting to help them,
Hmm.
and for some reason they just do not want to go. I would offer them, to go and to use like the doll for a vessel if they chose.
So all
If they're not,
these then all these haunted dolls that you have, they don't want to pass over, or do they just prefer to stay here?
there's some that are deaths pass over, and there's some that just aren't ready to yet. There's some that that want to just stay here and enjoy Earth still. Enjoy the life that we have here. And I can't make them cross over. I can
Mm-hmm.
ask them and tell them and show them the way, but I can't make them.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to Tommy.
Here's my little Tommy.
What's Tommy's story?
I think actually he was killed by a gunshot. I'm not for sure because he's little, he's young, he's like 3 years old, but she keeps saying bang bang, bang bang. So I'm thinking that maybe he got shot. I'm
Uh,
not for sure.
really? And that's all he tells you is bang bang?
Mm.
Okay, another question. I noticed that the the male doll has male names and the females have the female names. So does that mean that in all the male dolls you have, there's a male spirit, and the female there's a female spirit in those dolls? Why
Yeah,
don't?
that's what I've always been around. Now like Bobby could be either a girl or a boy, but usually I pick up on their gender really well.
Now how do you? So, because of your communication, that's how you know for a fact that there is a male in a male doll and a female in a female doll.
Yes.
But what difference does it make to a spirit? Which one they go into?
Well, little boys usually don't want to go around and get into and play with girl dolls. And then the little girls, even though they may like the little boy dolls, they're still going to want the frilly little dresses in the hair. They're gonna want something that feels normal to them, and
Okay.
and choosing their own gender feels normal.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Mary. Is Mary
Do you?
available? You have
Do
Mary?
you?
Do you
I'm
have?
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, do you have Mary?
Yes, I have
Okay.
Mary. my Mary.
Oh. Now tell us the story of Mary.
Well, I haven't had Mary very long. She's 10 years old, and that's what she said using the ghost box. Um, and when I ask her what happened to her, she will not tell me. She just says nope. So that means don't push. I don't push. I don't want to upset her. Um,
Hmm.
she is what I would call a shy. She's very, very shy. She's like timid a little bit.
Hmm. And interesting. So she doesn't want you to know anything. Can the other haunted dolls communicate with you and tell you her story?
Yes, she's just earning her trust. So I'm sure it had something to do with the abuse. So she's just earning her trust with me and her surroundings and other spirits that are around her. So she's not trusted too much, but we're working on it.
Okay. All right. So we have one last doll, and that's Emma.
Oh, okay. And here's Emma.
Hi, Emma.
She is very, very cute. And she's a young one too. I'm not exactly sure, but I would say around 2 to 3 years old. And I've heard her singing her alphabet, and it'd be like off in the distance, like in the next room. Sound like the radio's on, or I let the TV on, and I'll hear this humming or a little bit of singing, and I'll hear the giggling and footsteps. We'll hear a lot of footsteps. And say, for instance, I'll bring them in, and I'll just be doing my normal everyday stuff, and they'll flicker the lights or they'll cause electrical disturbances. And that's just their little way of showing me that they're there. And then I'll hear them saying, "Hello, I'm here, I'm here." And I'll have to decipher which one it is that's actually speaking.
Is there any doll that you have that you don't want to give up, or do you sell everything?
No, I don't sell everything. I do have my personal collection, and Charlie would be one of those that I cannot part with
Really?
at the moment. I'm really fond of Charlie.
Well, Angie, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your haunted dolls. Could you please tell the viewers where they can buy your dolls and your website?
Sure. You can find me at haunteddollsforsale.com. And you can also, if you have any questions, you can also come and join my group on Facebook called AJ's Haunted Dolls, and that's A and a J, Haunted Dolls. And also, I have a sister group which is called Creepy Dolls and the Paranormal, which I run with my friend Cherie Scoon. And we have a lot of great members there, and we have a lot of fun, and we love discussing anything paranormal.
Awesome. Awesome. I looked for haunted clowns, but I couldn't find any haunted clowns on your site.
I don't have any clowns at the moment. My clowns usually go really fast. I don't have a single one.
Oh.
I did have one that I had for the longest time, but a friend of mine really, really, really wanted him.
Okay. Too bad. I would have loved to have had him on the show. Well, Angie, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you so much for sharing your information and your haunted dolls with us. It was fascinating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. We'd really appreciate it. So, and I know Tim's watching. Hi, Tim. Missed you tonight. And everybody, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next show. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.